In her video that she herself calls Spirit Cooking, we see a few seconds where she cuts to a clip of her wrapped up by a serpent. As we shall see, this imagery reveals the main purpose of spirit cooking. Lady Gaga, Abromovic, John Podesta, and James Franco seems like birds of a satanic feather flock together.
You're traveling through to another dimension. A dimension of not only paranoia and delusion, but of idiocy. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of pure ignorance. Your next stop, the Batshit Crazy Zone.
I swear to Lucifer. I swear to Lucifer.
Truth is indeed stranger than fiction. Along with openly swearing in her allegiance to Lucifer or Satan rather than God, Lady Gaga has admitted to being possessed by a spirit entity that influences her music and has admitted that she's embraced her satanic nightmares as the inspiration behind her music.
Do you record while the bus is moving, or does it have to come to a stop?
Yeah, well, sometimes they don't want to, and they're, you know, Gaga, we can't get, you know, the frequency's weird, and, you know, it's sounding a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna, you know, I get a little bit mad.
Just because Lady Gaga, jokingly, on a show, was talking about how horrible she can be to her bandmates when she's on the road by saying, I swear to Lucifer, you immediately assume that she has sold her soul to Satan.
Consequently, Lady Gaga's continual use of satanic imagery is also quite revelatory as to how Satan is using her as a puppet to influence millions of unsuspecting young people.
Well, in her defense, to be quite honest, you see satanic imagery in everything. There is not a single fucking thing in this entire world you do not see some kind of satanic symbolism in. I've seen people say that the OK sign made by a hand is the representation of 666. Anything that has a triangle in it is, of course, of the Illuminati. So there is no possible way you can do anything nowadays that has anything to do with art, music, form, function, or anything without one of you stupid idiots believing that it has something to do with Satan, like they were flashing some kind of a satanic gang sign.
Sadly, most are unaware that her influence is seducing millions to sink into a spiritual abyss of eternal darkness.
No. If anything, she is trying to influence people to buy her music. I know this may come to you as quite a shock, but artists do everything that they do for money.
Gaga's presence at the 2017 Super Bowl allowed her to influence millions of more people.
You mean influence or get exposure to?
Lady Gaga glorifies occult symbolism, whether it's her use of Crowleyan symbols like the Egyptian Eye of Horus, which she uses repeatedly, or wearing goat heads of the satanic Baphomet, or a number of other blatantly demonic images, which further reveal her satanic allegiance to the prince in the power of the air, who the scriptures state works through the children of disobedience to deceive the masses and drag them into the eternal lake of fire.
Okay. First of all, the eyeliner that she's wearing is not even close to the Eye of Horus. Also, you're confused about things. Lady Gaga is known for her outrageous and crazy hats. It is one of the things that she is definitely known for doing. So seeing her wearing hats with horns is not a big surprise. Again, none of this proves that she has sold her soul to Satan.
Before we look more deeply into these things, Satanists who have come to prominence in the entertainment world have also heavily influenced Lady Gaga. Gaga's close friend, Crowleyan Satanist Marina Abromovic.
First of all, Marina Abromovic is a performance artist, and from this, people have come to the conclusion that she must be some kind of a Satanist. And no, she is not. She's never come out and said she is a Satanist, nor has she done anything to promote Satanism. The belief that she is a Satanist is purely based upon hearsay and conjecture.
Was catapulted to infamy as one of the subjects of the most bizarre of the WikiLeaks revelations, tying Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, and the highest echelons of government to Satanist organizer Aleister Crowley and his satanic sex magic cult. Abromovic, quite like Gaga, likes to dress up like a witch.
What do you mean she likes to dress like a witch? What does that even mean? What do witches wear? You mean she likes to dress herself in a pointy hat and black robes and ride around on a broomstick with a black cat?
And to adorn herself with goat's heads and devil horns and all sorts of satanic symbolism. Gaga's close friend Abromovic said, quote, "My mother dressed me as a devil when I was 4 years old for a party. I have no idea why she dressed me as a devil. I think to mark my life." End quote. According to WikiLeaks, Abromovic invited Hillary's campaign chairman, John Podesta, to her home for a satanic spirit cooking dinner as though it was a routine practice.
What? No. What it means is that Marina Abromovic invited Tony Podesta to a dinner, which she called spirit cooking. It is a fundraiser that she has been doing for quite a few years. The name spirit cooking comes from an installation that she did in Italy back in April of 1996. It also was the title of a book which has a lot of poems and recipes in it. Later on, she made the spirit cooking a fundraising event because, believe it or not, as an artist, even though she's one of the most famous artists in the entire world, known for performance art, she still needs to do fundraising to fund her projects and fund her artistic life. So that is why she has these spirit cooking events.
This gives us incredible insight into the satanic practices of the political elite at the highest echelons of government. Some of WikiLeaks' statements regarding the revelation stated, quote, "Tony Podesta by day, mild-mannered foreign agent for Saudi Arabia, by night, spirit cooker." Or, the Podesta's spirit cooking dinner? It's not what you think. It's blood, sperm, breast milk, but mostly blood. And yet another WikiLeak, quote, "Podesta participated in potentially satanic spirit cooking."
Yes, emphasis on the word potentially. As in, yes, if you cross the street, you are potentially putting yourself in danger from being hit by a car. Potential means something that might happen, no matter how extreme and unlikely it is that it actually would happen.
In an email revealed by WikiLeaks in June of 2015 by Abromovic to John Podesta's brother, Tony Podesta, Gaga's close friend Abromovic wrote, quote, "I am so looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place. Do you think you will be able to let me know if your brother is joining? All my love, Marina." Tony Podesta forwarded the email to his brother John Podesta asking, quote, "Are you in New York City Thursday, July 9th? Marina wants you to come to dinner." End quote.
What is this supposed to be, some kind of a gotcha moment? It looks like an email that you would send anybody if you were going to invite them to some kind of a dinner party. Hey, I'm going to be having a dinner party on July 15th. Would you like to join? And, oh, by the way, if your brother's in town, he's perfectly welcome to come to it also. So you would contact your brother and say, hey, this friend of mine is having a dinner party on such and such a date. Would you like to join us? What is so unusual about this? The fact that it was hosted by a world famous performance artist who's been doing this for 40 years and had installations called Spirit Cooking and wrote a book called Spirit Cooking and has the dinner called Spirit Cooking. You're so wrapped up in this spirit cooking thing, you haven't stopped to understand that all it is just a name for an art installation. It is a name for something. It has no other meaning beyond that. It doesn't have anything to do with spirits. It doesn't really even have anything to do with cooking except that it's a dinner. Marina Abromovic has talked many times about how food has influenced her art. So that is why she calls it spirit cooking.
What is John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman at the time and a high-ranking member of the DNC, doing hanging out with Satanists and being invited to their rituals? You can't make this stuff up, folks.
Yes, you are making it up, you fucking idiot, because what you're doing is you're already associating them with Satanism. You are claiming that Marina Abromovic is a Satanist.
The satanic ritual, which Podesta was expected to attend, as you shall see, if done according to Satanist Aleister Crowley's Book of the Law, which Abromovic appears to be largely following.
Marina Abromovic does not have anything to do with Aleister Crowley. It is very, very clear that she has no concept of what Aleister Crowley actually wrote.
Involves child sacrifice. Most everyone missed the child sacrifice connection with spirit cooking. We know that Abromovic was using much of Crowley's spirit cooking recipe for devil worshippers because she documented this for us in a video where you can see her writing down many of the ingredients for spirit cooking.
Those are not the ingredients. That is her art installation of spirit cooking. It has absolutely nothing to do with Aleister Crowley.
Gaga has spent much time praising the satanic spirit cooker Abromovic, even claiming her influence on her life.
Marina, I think you are so wonderful, so beautiful and inspiring, and as a woman, I want to translate what her work means into my own life on a domestic level. I am obsessed with this woman. She is so incredible.
The satanic spirit cooking ritual is better known as the Cake of Light ritual among Crowleyan Satanists, and is like a blasphemous satanic sacrament practiced by Crowley's OTO members that mocks Jesus' Last Supper of partaking of unleavened bread in remembrance of Jesus' love and death for the sins of the world to deliver them from hell. As you can see, she also uses Crowleyan symbols like the triangle and the number of the Antichrist, 666. All of this is quite revealing as to what many of these people in the higher echelons of politics and the entertainment world are all about.
Okay, first of all, the Cakes of Light have absolutely nothing to do with spirit cooking. The Cakes of Light that is outlined in the Book of the Law are made up of many ingredients, none of which are breast milk, sperm, urine, or anything like that that Marina Abromovic has listed. These are two completely separate items. And Aleister Crowley does not hold the trademark for a triangle, a circle, a square, the hexagram, or the pentagram, or the infinity symbol, or 666. Marina Abromovic, as a performance artist, is obviously using many of these symbols because of their associations. And she understands this symbolism, and so that is why she is using it. If you look at her performance art, it is shock. It is to shock the observer. Using blood, writing these symbols, all of it is to shock the viewer.
We also see here that Abromovic appears to really love the number of the beast, as her Twitter handle is AbromovicM666. The Cake of Light ritual was created by Crowley and conducted as part of Crowley's Gnostic Mass ritual, where, quote, a small flat wafer, end quote, is used and made out of honey, oil, and bodily excrements like menstrual blood, breast milk, urine, and sperm.
This wiki page was edited and updated on February 25th in 2016. Your video came out on February 3rd, 2017. The wiki page is completely wrong. The source of the Cakes of Light are mentioned in Magic in Theory and Practice, Chapter 20, as part of the Alchemical Eucharist, or Mass of the Phoenix, not the Gnostic Mass. As the editor's note 238 reads, it is noteworthy that Crowley does not give the precise recipe. Their proper production and use, i.e. the Cakes of Light, is gradually taught in AA and the OTO. Further, in the editor's note of 238, it refers to Liber al Veligus, the Book of the Law, Chapter 3, 23 through 25, in Crowley's commentary. He notes, meal, ordinary wheaten flour. Leavenings, the bees' wings of port should be good. Oil of abromelin, take 8 parts of oil of cinnamon, 4 of oil of myrrh, 2 of oil of galangal, 7 of olive oil. In connection with the blood, he continues, A, menstrual blood, or B, possibly dragon's blood. There is no breast milk, no urine, nor sperm in the cakes of light.
In Chapter 20 of Crowley's book Magic in Theory and Practice, a footnote on the contents when discussing spirit cooking includes procuring the flesh blood of an animal. According to Crowley, quote, the subtle principle of animal life itself is fixed in them by the introduction of fresh living blood, end quote.
There is no mention of spirit cooking anywhere in Magic in Theory and Practice. Again, you're conflating the performance art of Marina Abromovic with your own made-up nonsense around the cakes of light used in the alchemical Eucharist mentioned in Crowley's books. They're completely separate and different things. The complete quote reads, "The cakes of light are universally applicable. They contain meal, honey, and oil, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, the three necessities of human nutrition. Also, perfume of the three essential types of magical and curative virtue. The subtle principle of animal life itself is fixed in them by the introduction of fresh living blood." It is worth noting that the Eucharist, much like the transubstantiation of the Catholic Mass, is at its heart transformative. Taking the process literal is the pitfall of the uninitiated. The key words subtle principle, introduction, and fresh living blood alludes to this.
In Abromovic's video, she claims that she used pig's blood. Crowley and Satanists often take the devil's supper every day as the most important of Crowley's satanic sacraments to be fully possessed by the devil. Crowley taught in his Magick, Book 4, quote, a Eucharist of some sort should most assuredly be consummated daily by every magician, and he should regard it as the main sustenance of his magical life. It is of more importance than any other magical ceremony because it is a complete circle, end quote. Abromovic's prospective spirit cooking dinner with Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, reveals she is no mere neophyte to Crowleyan Satanism, as she writes on a wall in blood the Crowleyan recipe for the ritual: mix fresh breast milk with fresh sperm, fresh morning urine sprinkle over nightmare dreams. With a sharp knife, cut deeply into your middle finger, eat the pain, end quote.
Okay. All right. Okay, listen to this, you fucking moron. I'm gonna put these two things up on the screen so that you can see for yourself that these are two completely different things. They are different in form, they are different in function, they are different in use, they are different in time, they are completely different, and most importantly, and please listen to this carefully, the ingredients used in both of these are completely different. There is no connection between these two things.
According to Crowley's satanic cult, a batch of the sacrificial meal could make up to 50 or more cakes. Abromovic appears to make something similar to the cake of light. Here she is seen with her friend and fellow occult practitioner, popular actor James Franco, who she instructs to close his eyes as he eats a special cake covered with gold.
Eat it slowly and just really feel the texture and the taste.
This video is completely taken out of context too. The video with Marina Abromovic and James Franco, she is talking to him about how food is used in her art.
So what you have to do is to peel with me these almonds.
Okay. How did you get into food?
No, this is not the food, this is meditation. When I went to monasteries, I learned there when you're doing the long retreats and no food eating, you have to make in one point this golden ball.
So I had one of your desserts before, or it was
Yes.
a prototype.
It was prototype and I didn't like it.
Okay, you didn't like it, but there was gold.
Yes,
involved
now
in
we
it.
got gold too.
Can you tell me what the significance of eating gold
So
is?
what I learned in the old cultures, the gold being given to the infants when they are 9 months old, 7 months old, they mix them with the honey and they give them to the children because they say that the gold will actually be absorbed by the brain, is a brain food.
And those are soft almonds wrapped in gold, which he eats. It has absolutely nothing to do with what the items are listed in her spirit cooking poem that she wrote on a wall, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Aleister Crowley Cakes of Light for the Gnostic Mass and the Mass of the Phoenix. So again, you are trying to take these things and you're conflating them. You are literally forcing them together to try and create some kind of a weird narrative, which is failing miserably.
In her video that she herself calls spirit cooking, we see a few seconds where she cuts to a clip of her wrapped up by a serpent. As we shall see, this imagery reveals the main purpose of spirit cooking. Lady Gaga, Abromovic, John Podesta, and James Franco seems like birds of a satanic feather flock together. Franco is seen here in a video for his song Love in the Old Days, wherein he directs a satanic wedding, which is officiated by his good friend, Satanist Kenneth, who co-founded the Church of Satan. In the video, subliminal pictures of Satanist Aleister Crowley flash across the screen.
Okay. First of all, Kenneth does not identify himself as a Satanist. He does, however, identify himself as a pagan. But Kenneth did not co-found the Church of Satan. The Church of Satan was founded by Anton LaVey.
Apparently, Abromovic's planned dinner with Podesta was not merely art, as Abromovic admitted in an online interview when asked about Crowley's magic spelled with a K. She stated, quote, "Everything depends on which context you are doing what you are doing. If you are doing the occult magic in the context of art or in a gallery, then it is the art. If you are doing it in a different context, in spiritual circles or a private house, e.g. John Podesta and her, or on TV shows, it is not art. The intention, the context of what is made and where it is made defines what art is or not." End quote.
This so-called online interview is from a response to a Reddit post, so take it with that in mind. This responder, who's claiming to be Marina Abromovic, posted on Reddit, "I am performance artist Marina Abromovic, ask me anything." And one person asked, "What place do you see the occult having within contemporary art? Can magic be made, not simply appropriated, performed? Thanks, K." And Marina Abromovic responds, "Everything depends on which context you are doing what you are doing. If you are doing the occult magic in the context of art or in a gallery, then it is the art. If you are doing it in different context, in spiritual circles, or private house, or on TV shows, it is not art. The intention, the context for what is made and where it is made defines what art is or not." Now, the person who responded to this question, I find two things interesting. One is they're defining occult as in the terms of art. Secondly, the person asking the question spelled magic with a K, which chances are they're probably a practicing occultist themselves. And Marina Abromovic responds spelling magic without a K, meaning that if she was an occultist, chances are she would have spelled magic with a K instead of the C, because that is how occultists determine the difference between magic, which is stage magic, and magic, which is the magical practice.
As wicked and as evil as the satanic cake of light ritual is,
I guess I'm going to have to just keep hammering this home. Spirit cooking is completely separate from the cakes of light. And the cakes of light is not a ritual. The cakes of light are a recipe that are used in either the Gnostic Mass or the Mass of the Phoenix. The ingredients are completely different. The form is completely different. The function is completely different. Spirit cooking is performance art, and it is also the name of a book that Marina Abromovic wrote, and it is also the name of a fundraising event that she has periodically called Spirit Cooking. Those two things have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
The spirit cooking ritual becomes all the more sinister when we read from Aleister Crowley himself that the blood is to be procured, at least in part, from a child sacrifice. In Crowley's Book of the Law, he gives evil and twisted instructions in regard to the ingredients of spirit cooking, which he claimed were dictated to him by a spirit entity named Aiwass, whom he identifies in other writings as Satan himself. In the so-called cakes of light, which are at the heart of Abromovic's spirit dinner, Satanists are instructed to provide, quote, rich, fresh blood, then the fresh blood of a child, end quote.
From the editor's note, 238, the Book of the Law, 3, 23 through 25. But it should be stressed that a literal interpretation involving the taking of human life is not Crowley's intended meaning. I know it seems odd that Crowley would write such things and not anticipate they would be taken literally or even used against him. However, this may have been his intent, to stir controversy and laugh at the uninitiated who took his words literal. Again, he was a provocateur and enjoyed playing the fools for who they truly are, fools.
We read that Satan instructed Crowley and Satanists in the Book of the Law after instructing to use rich, fresh blood that, quote, the best blood is of the moon monthly, speaking of course of menstrual blood, then the fresh blood of a child, or dropping from the host of heaven, then of enemies, then of priests, or of worshippers, last of some beast, no matter what. This burn, of this make cakes, and eat unto me, end quote. This is a reference to the spirit that is channeling Crowley, wanting worship from child sacrifice. A sacrifice that Abromovic and John Podesta, and who knows how many others, potentially practice.
Wow, you are really milking this quote.
Incredibly, in Abromovic's spirit cooking video, we see her bring an effigy of a child that she puts near the wall with the other ingredients as part of the spirit cooking dinner. She then proceeds to splash the child effigy with blood.
What makes that a child effigy? It just looks like a generic effigy of a human being. It doesn't even look like if it's male, female, or even has an age. It just looks like a symbol, an effigy of a human being. That's it.
The demonic entity that identified itself as Satan to Crowley demanded to be worshipped by the sacrifice of children repeatedly. The Book of the Law commands, quote, worship me with fire and blood, worship me with swords and spears, let blood flow in my name, I will give you their flesh to eat, sacrifice cattle after a child, kill and torture, spare not, be upon them, end quote.
This quote is from the Book of the Law 3 and not 2. The stanza lines are supposed to be from a Ra-Hor-Kut, a supposed god of war and vengeance.
Crowley wrote much about sacrificing children to Satan and instructs initiates in his book Magick and Theory and Practice to engage in child sacrifice. He stated, quote, a male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. But the bloody sacrifice, though more dangerous, is more efficacious, and for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best, end quote.
Ah, yes, it wouldn't be a good Christian video without resurrecting this old dusty quote, propping it up for yet one more time, hoping to shock the locals with its apparent horror. Prefacing the quote in question, Aleister Crowley makes no apology, forewarning the reader. However, there is a mystery concealed in this theory of the bloody sacrifice, which is of great importance to the student. Further, as a footnote to this quote, the editor notes, when Crowley speaks of sacrificing a male child, his diaries and other writings indicate that he thereby obfuscates the actual practice. Crowley did this by diversion of the act of sexual intercourse and other sexual actions. He considered contraception as human sacrifice. There is no indication in any of his writings that he ever performed infanticide. Crowley also was never convicted of crimes associated with human sacrifice.
Here we see Lady Gaga and her good friend, Crowley and Satanic spirit cooker, Marina Abromovic, participating in a very disturbing blood-eating simulation. Abromovic seems to have a real strange fascination with blood sacrifice and even cannibalism. Here we see her walking around one of her so-called art shows where cakes are formed into human bodies and then eaten. Different celebrities appear with her at this show, including Blondie and Gwen Stefani. Of course, Lady Gaga is not the only one that Abromovic has had such a strong influence on. She has also influenced the music of Jay-Z. The deeper meaning behind this spirit cooking ritual, which was also revealed in Abramovic's video, was missed by pretty much everyone.
No. The reason why everybody missed it is because it's not there. You are the only fucking moron who's reading this into this. It has absolutely nothing to do with sacrifice. It is a performance art piece meant to shock people. And you, as the stupid moron you are, you assume, oh, it must have some kind of an actual meaning. I can't believe you were this fucking stupid.
The purpose is to realize one's supposed divinity and become one with the spirit of Satan, hence the term spirit cooking. Crowley taught the lie that Satan told Eve in Eden, and the lie of the Antichrist, that man can become God. Crowley stated that the result of spirit cooking is, quote, day by day, matter is replaced by spirit, the human by the divine. Ultimately, the change will be complete. God, manifest in the flesh, will be his name, end quote.
Well, let's look at it from this perspective. For example, and I know that you are going to completely disagree with me here, and that's fine. Let's just assume for a second there is no deity higher than human beings. Let's just assume that for a second. If that is the case, human beings are essentially God. We have dominion over the earth, over the animals. We have dominion over everything. If that is true, then essentially human beings are gods. And as such, we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but to the earth in which we live on. So, just for shits and giggles, let's just say that human beings are gods. So, in this context, Aleister Crowley's writings are absolutely correct. Once we come to this realization and understand that, yes, we are gods, this causes a shift in consciousness, where we move away from expecting someone else to take care of us, and we take responsibility for our actions, and we become responsible for ourselves, each other, and the world itself. Just a hypothetical, though. Let's go back to believing that there's a sky daddy who runs it all.
However, the reality is one becomes more and more at one with the devil and shares his eternal destiny in the lake of fire. In Abromovic's video on spirit cooking, after listing on a wall some of the ingredients of the cake of light, and even more disturbing, splashing an effigy of a small child with blood, Abromovic's video cuts to a clip of a huge snake wrapping around her body. This underscores the satanic goal of the spirit cooking ritual in invoking the serpent of old, a biblical symbol for the devil. Abromovic is simply declaring that spirit cooking makes you one with the devil. Crowley's Book of the Law states that the world is to be ruled by a group of satanic elite supermen under the authority of the beast or the Antichrist and Satan. The Book of the Law states, quote, "Let my servants be few and secret. They shall rule the many and the known," end quote.
An elite group of supermen? That's not in any of Aleister Crowley's writings. He put this in here so to conflate it with this other actual quote, which he did pull from Aleister Crowley's writings. But that first section that he said is in Crowley's writing is not in there. He has to literally force all this stuff together, and then he has to make up bullshit to fill in the gaps.
Through the WikiLeaks revelations, we received a rare window into how some of Satan's apparent servants, like John Podesta and Marina Abromovic, are worshiping him in secret.
No. Using the WikiLeaks emails as evidence, what you do is you jump to wild accusations and conclusions about what is going on. You take these various unrelated concepts and you slap them together with whatever bullshit nonsense you possibly can, and then you try to wrap it up and spit it back out to your audience as some kind of proof that the elite are worshiping Satan. And no, you idiot, none of this coalesces. None of this holds together.
Satanist Marina Abromovic.
Again, Marina Abromovic does not identify as a Satanist, nor does she have any association with Satanism.
Was officially invited to Hillary's campaign launch at Franklin D. Roosevelt Four Freedoms Park at Roosevelt Island in New York City. It was at the same park that Hillary Clinton's husband, Bill Clinton, revealed that Hillary was still receiving spirit messages from spirit entities via what Hillary claims to be Eleanor Roosevelt. And according to Bill Clinton, she claimed that she had received a fresh revelation for the audience at the park.
My wife, now the Secretary of State, was known to commune with Eleanor on a regular basis. And so she called me last night on her way home from Peru to remind me to say that Eleanor had talked to her and reminded her that I should say that.
Hillary Clinton did not believe that she was communing with Eleanor Roosevelt. That is why the audience is laughing whenever he mentions this. I don't have time to explain this. I'll just leave a link to Snopes.com. You can look into it for yourself. No, Hillary Clinton was not communing with Eleanor Roosevelt. Okay, so I'm going to end this video here because this second part, he's going to go into associating Lady Gaga with being a Nazi. So that will be for the next video. I don't have time to do this right now, and I don't want this to turn into a 2-hour long video. So thank you so much, and blessed be.